Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Shadow and Sun Show, and welcome to your Friday morning edition of Second Breakfast. How's everybody out there in TV land doing? I am having a wonderful morning. Everything right on schedule. Good video this morning. Had a lot of fun doing that one. A lot of interesting tidbits I learned doing research on some of the more famous fantasy thieves out there. There were a few new ones I discovered by one of my favorite authors, Raymond A. Feast. Got me to dig out my Magician Apprentice series. Maybe I'll squeak some time in there to read it. I'd really love to be able to find an audiobook of that series because there's so many books in it. Oh my goodness. I stopped reading at book four and thought it was done. And a couple of years later, I was involved in other things and it just slipped on by, and I come back in 2026, and there's like four or five more books in that series, and a second series connecting to that series. And Mr. Feast went and wrote probably 25 more books since then. I'm just like, the hell have I been doing? Oh, yeah, gaming. Then that's what we're here to talk about today, or who knows what else might pop up: miniature painting, wargaming. Um, I got my oh, this is a big monstrous. Just it's a freaking cube. Oh, jeez, I almost got a hernia picking it up. If you can see that, the Solomon Kane. What is it called? Role playing vault. Yeah, I've looked at gun safes that were smaller than this, but it's got 100 minis in it, three blast templates, a cone template, some Betty markers, some shaking and some markers and tokens, and 20 floor tiles, which is probably the bulk of the weight in here. But I'm looking at the box, and there's one, two, three, four, five, six. There's like 23 miniatures pictured on the back, but it says there's 100. So I'm wondering, which ones are there, like fives and tens of in here. A lot of duplicates, but I'm not going to open this until later. I know I would just get super distracted wanting to paint up Solomon Kane and things like that. I'm a big Solomon Kane fan. Always have been since the Marvel years. Before I could ever get a hold of an actual copy of Howard's books or short stories. And to be honest, I kind of dig it more than Conan, just because he was more of a Christian and a thinker than just flying by the seat of his pants. I know lots of Howard's characters were like that. Even Solomon Kane was a bit like that. Just improvising a lot and just spur of the moment, make a plan and just go off into the jungle and do whatever. But it should fit snugly in somewhere with my gothic horror uh, September, October, November. I think I'm going to cut it off at. I was talking about, I think, like Thanksgiving or the day before Thanksgiving. I'll be like, okay, I'm done with this. Maybe I'll squeak it past, do the whole month. We'll see how much I get done, because I have a lot of projects to get done. The Sigmarite Mausoleum is going to take some time. Painting up of all the vampires and vampire hunters for Gothic Horror Vampire Wars. Um, Maybe delving a little into Ravenloft, see if there's some modules I missed. And then, of course, reviewing this game, which uh, I didn't know that it was Savage Lands or Savage Worlds, which I everything I've read about the system, I don't really like. If it is indeed a system where your strength is in dex and intelligence are actual dice and not, more or less fixed stats, I'm not a fan of that mechanic. It's counterintuitive to how I know my own stats are. Other people, maybe they vary. Maybe on one day your strength is a 6, and another day it's a 12. For me, it's at a steady like 7. you know, and my con is always at like a 4. So, unless I get sick or something, why would those, or I pull a muscle or I'm injured, it makes no sense to me why they would go up and down in such a swingy fashion, especially, you know, other things. And so I'm going to give it a fair shot because it's Solomon Kane, but, any of the other systems I've seen like Rifts and things like that would not. What was the other one? Top Secret New World Order. Not the same game, but similar mechanisms. And I'm just like, yeah, just not. It's not for me. It's just not. I don't understand. I mean, I understand why you would do that, so you roll more dice, and that's all I can fathom. That's why you would do that in designing a game. But some people seem to like it. I'm not one of those people. So I'm just about done with my 2 scarecrows that I've been working on for 2 weeks now, and the troll's done. Some of the familiars are more or less done. The ladies of the evening are kind of done. I got a couple of new pieces. I got this mad scientist from Reaper. It's a metal guy. He's starting to take shape. I got this really cool mini that I decided to turn into my vigilantes for Shadow Dark Mr. Mirage. Uh, I'm digging that one. He's a police officer, detective with the some of the powers of the Shadow, the old radio dramas and things like that, and having fun with that character. But I guess next week I'll be running a new character, a teleporter, which that's going to be fun. So, what are you guys up to? You got any plans for the weekend? Anything coming up you want to share with the rest of the class? I'm taking the night off, I believe. I think I'm going to mow the lawn tonight. To be honest, it's going to be 105 today, and it's already like 95 in the studio, and we've got the AC on, and it just is not really cutting it up here because the sun is right there. I'm like staring right at it, and like I said, it's going to be 105 today, which is considerably warmer than it was yesterday and the day before, which were like 101, 102, and slowly cooking me to death. And I, I was like, why don't you mow when you first wake up? I was like, so when I first wake up, I have breakfast, and it's time for the show. Where you been? Well, she's been at work, and on the weekends she doesn't see me do the morning show. But uh, it's just waking up first thing, running out there to do that. It's just no. I know it's still going to be like 90 at like 8 o'clock at night when I plan on mowing the lawn, making the neighbors go, "What the hell is going on outside?" My one neighbor uh, who lives really close, and we share sort of a patch of grass, as both our lawns. He's going to be like, you know, I'm not this far from just hiring someone to do it because I'm just tired of doing it. I've been mowing lawns since I was 8 years old, and that's 51 years of mowing the lawn for what? I watched a video the other day from Project 3 of 7, I think it's called. Uh, an old Navy SEAL guy uh, who broke it down what an absolute stupid waste of time mowing lawns has been, and what a scam that industry has been for most of us, who own property. Um, other than helping provide oxygen for us to breathe, cutting it and doing all the other things on a regular basis, really, kind of a waste of time and money. What's up, Dean? How you doing, man? Uh, I am going to be applying some maize yellow as a light edge highlighting dry brush over the scarecrows to sort of subliminally suggest the element of straw and and the harvest and those kind of colors. So I'm on both of the scarecrows. I've used a very similar color palette of light browns and oranges and yellows, and even a little green on the base there to kind of drive home the stereotypical scarecrow sort of color palette. And I'm really happy with this guy. I need to break out my. I have this like pumpkin golem somewhere, and I know I didn't do a great job. I haven't cut a lawn in decades, but I have cut the lawn. Yeah, it's just it, you know I just don't see the real point in for me at least. Like I said, I'm almost 60 years old, and I don't even go out there. You know, 6 days a week, if not more. I see the lawn when I walk past it to go get the mail, or I go outside to go somewhere, but I never sit on it. I never hang out on the grass. In the backyard, a little more. I play with the dog and chase him around, and we have fun, and that's good. And we got a house with a lawn because when Jackie was a little boy, the area we lived had a very there was no grass at all. It was uh, blacktop everywhere, and he he didn't fall a lot, but the wife was always worried that he was going to fall and scrape his knees, and I'm like, he's supposed to. I mean, that's I did that like every day as growing up as a kid. Every day. If I didn't scrape my knees, it was my elbows or my chin or something. That's just the way it was. But her generation and where she comes from, they're quite they're quite precious, and I didn't worry about it. But eventually, we wanted a place, and we wanted him to be able to run around and play with the dog and all that stuff. So we got a place with a yard, and no regrets. But we had an opportunity a while ago to kind of uproot it all and replace it with either concrete or desert flora decorations, sand and rocks and stuff like that. We should have jumped on it. It would have been so much uh, less, hassle. I've got a bunch of neighbors that have done that and never see them out there, doing anything other than maybe spraying it with a bit of weed killer if some things sort of pop up in between the rocks and that sort of thing. And I'm like, man, we should have done that when we had the opportunity. Now it's a $20,000 job for 1 yard. I'm like, I could just let it all die, just not water it, let it just freaking evaporate and turn to weeds and whatever, and let it just all wither, and then have some guy come in and just concrete it up because I want to put out a like a patio with like a little fire pit and a barbecue. Make some use of the actual front yard. Maybe throw a couple of benches and a big umbrella, and just be able to sit out there and watch the neighbors drive by, and you know maybe cook up some burgers or some hot dogs or something every once in a while. Because I'm not the only one in the neighborhood. I mean, nobody uses their yard. It's just, I would rather turn it into more bedrooms, because if Lord knows I could use at least one more room. I was thinking about the other day. It's like, I might have to get a freaking storage unit for some of this game stuff. Like even trying to put away the Solomon Kane. It's not a lot, but I'm like, I'm running out of room, guys. Uh, I might have a little bit of a spending problem. But if I open up a shop, that makes it completely different and all kind of worth the journey because I can go through everything and get rid of the stuff. I was talking to Jackie. Um, there's a bunch of stuff he's never never going to have any interest in. Even the comic books. When I was telling him some of the stuff that was in there, it's like, I want to read that. It's like, nah, I don't want to read that. Well, you can be the one to sell that stuff when the time comes. It will be yours. I'm not going to, be around to make those kind of decisions. Okay, you may not be able to see it, but look, I can tell the difference from the previous image to this one, with the little bits of yellow, especially back here. It really worked out really nice on the folds of his jacket. Those highest areas, you can see the yellow, and that's what I was shooting for all over. And I'm going to go over him with a little more yellow here on the base, just to kind of tie it all. Oh, you know what? I didn't realize there. It looks like there's some bones on the base, like some skeletal remains. So I should probably do something about that, right? I want to actually mount him to one of these bases, but it turns out they're just a little too small, and I don't really want to cut the base. If you see the circle there, it just it hangs over. I don't know if they make a little bit larger base than this. This one's like a 25 mil. If they make like a 35, that would be like perfect. So I could get some. Well, you know what? Let's look at one of these. These are 45 millimeter, and I don't know. Do you think that's too much? Too much empty space that I'd have to fill with tufts and a few little pumpkins, because I have a few little pumpkin minis, a couple little smaller, and a couple a little larger, both jack o' lantern style and just regular pumpkins. I think I might just do that since he's going to be the general of my army. I don't see, what? I also kind of, I might even maybe like, I'm thinking of maybe like taking some craft sticks and making like a little bit of fence back here, like he's standing. And oh, you know what? If I do this just right, if I can find them, I want to make some cornrows back there, not for his hair, like he's standing in front of a bunch of corn, and there's a fence. I think I might do that. I think that would look actually pretty freaking awesome. Let me see if I can find on the internet, if I can find some miniature corn paper flowers or dry flowers or something like that. Um, and just put a little bit behind him, because if I do this right, um, I can do it on some of the other pumpkin army miniature bases, and maybe even make a little pieces of terrain, which would be even. Oh yeah, I'm brainstorming here, guys. Sort of a little epiphany, if you will. Since the pumpkin army is going to be for the Gothic horror skirmish game, it stands to reason that maybe at least one of the battlefields would be near a pumpkin patch. And roll with me, a pumpkin patch is going to probably have like a cornfield probably nearby, right? And maybe I can get like the bits of a Victorian house model or a barn or a farmhouse, and Van Helsing and crew have to go and take on Sam Hain at the pumpkin patch or the Great Pumpkin or whatever. I was also talking to James L last night, and we were talking about my pumpkin army and other skirmishy things. And I'm like, you know what I need? I need a Cinderella pumpkin carriage to turn into like a chariot sort of war machine, right? You get where I'm going with this? Maybe not quite as elegant as Cinderella's, but you know how in the cartoon at least, it started out as a pumpkin, and one of the fairies or whatever turned it into a carriage. And I'm like, you know, if I do it just right, I could actually make it look kind of wicked. If I get like a little plastic jack o' lantern and take a hot knife and carve out parts of it so that the the pumpkin king can stand. I wonder, am I going to need a Jack Skellington as a lieutenant for this one? But either way, I need like a pumpkin charioteer to ride with skeletal horses as one of the engines of destruction. So let's take a look real quick here. Oh, wrong place. Because I can't be more than an inch and a half tall, right? I mean, I don't know how high corn grows. I wonder if even such a thing exists. No. Huh. I'm not seeing anything even close, but I'm just. Oh, wait. Flowering plants, corn stalk 2 inches. Oh, $20 though. Oh, I wonder how many you get. Hmm. Free delivery from some. Wait. Oh, well, flowering plants, corn 1 inch. Let's see how many you get here. Oh, there's lots of them actually. I'm like 12 millimeter. That's not 2 inches. 12 millimeters is like half an inch. What? That's no item length. 12 millimeters. Uh, 28 plants per pack. Also available in HO scale. Okay, I'll put a watch on this one and go back to the other one because it's just freaking cheaper. 24 corn plants. Um, that's not bad. Uh, oh, here's some that are already dried looking too. That's cool. Oh, this is actually a train shop. Okay, whistle stop something. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, I'm gonna have to do some research into making sure I get the right measurements. Talk to Cal and see how tall corn corn stalks are. But that's cool. He's the expert. But I think I've got the makings of some cool ass Halloween theme. I wish I had thought of some of this stuff back when Jackie was, you know, helping out with the channel during one of our Halloween specials. This would have been a lot of fun to do the whole, old timey Halloween, sleepy. Oh, you know what? I got the Headless Horseman. Oh, I forgot about that. I've got two really, really cool Headless Horseman minis that the headless horseman could easily be one of the lieutenants, and he's on a horse. Maybe he's just a scout or like a bit of a shock trooper. I'm gonna have a decent, maybe 15, 20 man beast piece. Nice little skirmish warband. if I'm not careful. I think I'm onto something. Then the next one, I I've got the obvious like a crap ton of vampires and things like that, but I need some really good lesser vampires. The kind of hunched over, almost Renfield slash White kind of minions for that army. And then I need to get some Bobbies and some Baker Street irregulars and some just regular like Peaky Blinders characters for the Sherlock Holmes and or Van Helsing warband. And I also want to do the some sort of Frankenstein's monster, Doctor Frankenstein kind of warband as well. That's the fun thing about the Gothic horror game is it's got like all your classic monsters and tropes. It's got the creature from the Black Lagoon. It's got werewolves. I'm sure I could find and include like the Invisible Man. That would be great. With him like maybe a miniature of him just like slowly starting to unwrap the bandages on his head. So like most of his head is missing. That would be freaking awesome, right? And his ability is after a round of prep and undressing, he's freaking invisible, and then he comes in and does some crazy shit. um, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, the Blue Oyster Cult. Oh yeah, I definitely need to find some good deep ones. Most of the ones I see are kind of a little either too goofy or maybe too frog-like. I know they're supposed to be kind of frog-like, but they're also supposed to be kind of fish-like. If you guys know of any really good um, deep ones, let me know. I'm probably just going to go with the ones that are made by Reaper because I want this whole army in metal, or possible. The only thing that's not going to be metal is probably this particular Scarecrow from the Steampunk Wizard of Oz set. But so those are the things I'm working on as we speak and hang out Monday through Friday. On the weekends, I only get to maybe fiddle around with the stuff on my table during the Saturday night show. Saturday and Sunday, just busy, 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 or I'm taking a long, well deserved freaking nap, especially after church and a hamburger for breakfast. Just right to freaking sleep. Hmm. So, what are you guys working on? You got anything planned? I know I was watching Bubba this morning, DMB's of Bubba, and he's working on. He's already getting ready for Halloween too. He's got these great Count Chocula and Frankenberry and Blueberry little plastic figures from I think AliExpress or Timu or something, and he's going to be doing some Halloween decorations. He's got the army of grandkids to entertain and to and share these things with. So there's a whole bunch of people who will get a kick out of it here. Jackie gets it, appreciates it, but it's not quite the same as the little ones. Um, when they're looking forward to dressing up for Halloween and going trick or treating and shit like that. Um, what's up, Joshua? Hey, I just found your channel. Glad you read through the player's guide for Reaper Dungeon Dwellers, and I like your honest review. Thanks. I'm actually right now reading the World Book, Hill's Edge or something like that. I just broke it out of the shrink wrap, and I'm going to start reading it this weekend. And then the other sort of adventure book, but I already read the DMG and the monster books, and just finding the channel. Me and Heritage Miniatures go back all the way back to about 78, 79, when I first got into the hobby as a youngster, and my first purchases were those heritage paint and play sets, and I still have them. And there may not be the originals. I may have recycled and gotten new ones and gotten rid of the old ones, but I have copies of both those and all of the heritage Dungeon Dweller box sets, the big green ones, as well as the like four color ones. I might be missing one here and there, but for the most part, I've got them all. I've got the lower depths one that came with Asmodeus and freaking Orcus and a bunch of other big nasty monsters. It was like crazy the stuff that was in those. I have like I have a complete set of the Star Trek Heritage miniature blister packs sealed from back in the day. I've got almost all the John Carter, all the John Carter books from Heritage. I got one right here. I was just looking at because I bought a new copy of it because it was like $25. I couldn't pass that up. These things by Scott Bazar from Heritage Models, like 1978. I've got the Heritage Star Trek game, which is the first like Star Trek RPG. Just so much stuff. Galactic 25, both the old stuff and the new stuff. I've even got some sealed Galactic 25 paint and play sets that have never been opened. So me and Heritage go way, way back. I actually owned Crypt of the Sorcerer and Caverns of Doom before I bought my D&D Player's Handbook because I transitioned from, painting miniatures and doing the Dungeon Dwellers little playset games to playing Dungeons and Dragons and playing Galactic 25 and playing the Heritage Universal Monsters game and Knights and Magic. I have all that stuff. There's very little Heritage put out that I don't have, except some of the original red and white packs and the Candy Dancers, which were the train railroad sets and any Napoleonics. I do have some of the Panzer Troops sealed blister packs and minis. But I've been a miniature painter and gamer since about '79, and I hope you enjoy the channel. We get up to some shenanigans right now. I guess it's just you and me, because the other folks who are watching got bored hearing me go down memory lane one more time. But normally I have a couple of guests on and we talk, the hobby and what we're up to, what's new, etc. But this week has been kind of off. I think the heat and other things. A couple of my guests are like out of town or doing some other things, so they couldn't be with us this week. But I did have Joseph from Reaper, the writer of the new Dungeon Dwellers game, on Monday, I think it was, and he'll be back, whenever time permits. And he's not too busy doing other stuff, or he just wants to take a break and hang out with like-minded folks who love this stuff. Curious to hear, what your, uh, what your lineage or pedigree or history is with Heritage and Reaper. And I've been painting a ton of Reaper miniatures lately. I'm kind of almost exclusively painting Reaper for the foreseeable future, with a few exceptions. Trying to grab up as much of the Reaper metal minis as I can get before they decide to go full retard and go with 3D prints. I absolutely just so disappointed with that idea. They were, as far as I was concerned, for decades, literally like the kings of metal minis. And I know a lot of people don't like them, but um, it's kind of short sighted and lazy, or spoiled with, more detail, but not understanding that Reaper miniatures will be around for hundreds of years. The metal minis, if taken care of properly, or even just left in a box and not harmed, through elements or fire or things like that, they'll be around long after our great grandkids are gone. If things continue as they do, they could be, around for a good long time. Archaeologists in the future could be digging them up and finding all of our metal miniatures and wondering what these strange shapes are, because everything is now ruled by the giant cockroach people. They have no living memory of human beings and upright, walking, intelligent life forms. Um, it's far too hot outside. Glad to hear you've been in the hobby so long. I've been playing tabletop games for about 10 years now. Always DM, and I agree, metal minis are the best. They truly are. Um, the Reaper Bones Black are not bad. They're not the best. All of the plastics that Reaper has used just don't grab the detail. The 3D prints are not bad looking, but they're fragile as hell. I had one break just trying to take the supports off. Okay. And I had one break just by holding it the wrong way when I was painting it, snapped at the legs. I'm like, yeah, I shouldn't have to, I mean, we've always been kind of gentle with our miniatures. Okay. I get that. Because it started with lead and they would bend. And then with metal, because we didn't want to drop them and then have them, an arm break off and never find it. But now it's like I've had 3D prints. I kid you not, I got a 3D print. It was resin, and I was holding it, and it melted at the legs. I literally was holding it like this, and I watched it bend over backwards because the heat of my hands melted it. Yeah, sure, some of the sculpts on some plastics are great, but I mean, how much more detail do I really need on this guy? I mean, as far as I can tell, and I know this image is kind of blurry for you guys, but I really don't need any more detail on this guy. Everything is perfectly fine detailed. I don't need, okay, like this crazy shit. Okay, I have been holding off finishing this guy because there's too much damn detail. They're asking me to glue on tiny little purity seals and things like that I can't even imagine where they go. Right. And I have a crap ton of Archon Studios plastic, and they're one of the best plastics in the world. But I mean, if you're going to start, extolling the virtues of Games Workshop, Cold Iron, you're in the wrong place. Uh, Games Workshop is not our friends. They don't like us. They want us to hurry up, spend every penny we can, and then toddle the f off and not come back. The treatment my son and I received going in person to our local GW um, is palpable. The disrespect and the disdain and just like I kid you not, we went in there and we've been going there for a while. Trying to get my son into it. He liked Necrons, and he was almost old enough to start playing. And we went in there, and because they had said, come in for a free painting lesson, and he'd been painting miniatures for a while, and he's pretty good at it. And I walked in. I said, "Hey, we'd like my boy'd like to, get a little free painting lesson." And the guy looks at us, and goes, "I can't." I'm like, "Why not?" "Because you've been here before." I'm like, "Yeah, that's how we know where you are. We've been coming here. We were here in the grand opening." It's like, "Yeah, that's only open to brand new people who've never been here before." I'm like, "You're kidding me? You're going to turn down my boy who wants to learn how to paint and get into the hobby, and you guys are okay at the corporate level of turning the kid away so that he goes, wow, I went all that way. I took time out of my busy 8-year-old schedule to come down to your shop." Actually, it was like 12. To come to the shop and hang out and learn from some masters, but because of a technicality of having shopped here before, you don't want me to learn a little bit more. I'm just like, you know, it wasn't his fault. Those are the rules. The corporate shit. I mean, I was in the store picking up a can of or a bottle of this Tesseract Green. I do like some of their paints. Some like exactly like two. And it's not Agrax that I like. I get the Howland Blizzard and Tesseract Glow. That's all I ever buy from them. And I was in there just waiting for the guy to be able to ring me up, and uh, a guy who was sitting at the table who was actually painting, right, was talking to some other people, and he started talking about Magic the Gathering. And the owner or the guy who ran the store says, "You're not allowed to talk about that in the shop." I'm like, this is America, right? He's like, "Yeah, corporate, you can't talk about any other games here in the shop." Similar in the shop, getting a bottle of spray primer, I think it was, when I actually tried out their primer and was horribly disappointed at the price, a $20 freaking can of primer that I can get the same effects with Krylon. Um, a guy had in his work box, his toolbox or whatever, his kit, had a bottle of nail polish remover or something like that. And the same guy or maybe a different guy said, "Hey, put that away. You can't use anything but Games Workshop products here. I don't want to see that again." I'm like, wait a minute. So if I bring in my Timu clippers, you're going to freak out because they're not GW? I'm like, you don't have, I mean, yeah, it's your building and your business, but you have no right to be that kind of like crazy. Yeah, I've been playing 40K since Road. Same here. Uh, but yeah, I get all my stuff third party for the most part, and I try to stay away. I started to realize how they were during COVID. Like any other store in the world, I could go in, me and my boy, and maybe they like, wear a mask or whatever that kind of shit. Even though we didn't, right? My son would because his mom, and he didn't want to argue with her, and he was like 12 and 13 or whatever. But we went into the GW to just pick up some paints or look around. I forget what it was, and they had this plexiglass cubicle, right? And we're like, okay, what's up with this? We open it. The guy comes running up to the things. He's like, only one of you allowed in a cubicle at a time. I'm like, well, we wanted to look around. It's like only one person in the store allowed at a time. Like, you mean you think I'm going to let you walk around with my boy around in the store, just you and him? You're freaking insane. It was like, sorry, man, corporate rules. I don't make the rules, and we get a lot of corporate spies and narcs, I guess they call them. Come in trying to make sure, like will bust us if we violate any of the corporate rules. So I'm not risking my job, man. I'm like, you simpy fat bastard. What's up, off grade? What they did to your custodies? Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. He literally should have caught something. It's just the idea that you can tell anybody what they can and can't say. Period. I mean, there's literally nothing that should be off limits except when it comes to like censors on TV. Not wanting SpongeBob to start rattling off a bunch of four-letter words. I get that. Uh, well, because of the way you look off grid, I think they keep you. No offense, not like saying anything against you, but you know how it is. You're not, you know, a certain way, so they probably make an example out of you, especially if they checked your social media or looked around, did any digging. What this guy's trying to be off grid, trying to provide for himself and not suck off the government teat. Oh, we can't have that. Throw him in jail. Yeah, you literally can't trust anyone or anything above a certain pay grade anymore. It's just, and even then, you never know who'd turn you in, for a freaking a donut, right? Do you believe that shit? People were getting the freaking pokey poke uh, by being lured with a donut or a doobie. I'm like, you're fucking kidding me, right? I mean, wait till that starts coming up, because the Fauci ouchie shit that's going on. When they start talking about the states that allowed dispensaries, if you will, to say, "Hey, come in and get the thing, and we'll give you some marijuana." So glad I didn't take even one of those uh, things seriously. I mean, we when it first popped off, we did some things because the wife's got lupus, and we did try to live very carefully. But when the 2 weeks to stop the spread became like 2 months to take away your freedom, I just wasn't having it anymore. And my boy saw through it like he had X-ray goggles on it. I didn't say anything. I didn't. He was listening to YouTube and listening to the people on the internet that he listens to or listened to back then, and just like, "Dad, I don't want the shot." I'm like, "You don't have to take the shot. Your mom can't make you, and we'll do whatever it takes to not." She and Grandma, if they want to go down and get their eighth and ninth booster, that's not on us. We've tried to tell them, right? Pure blood, man. They don't want me in jail. It would turn into a recruitment drive and give me, uh, you know, um, I know the feeling, but the problem is, uh, you probably still end up getting stabbed. You know what I mean? Uh, the people that do, get stabbed, 75% of them, uh, the authorities know it's going to happen before it happens. If they don't, actively, pay people to do it or encourage it or order it, they get wind of it and look the other way because um, those are their marching orders. So I'd be real careful and just try to avoid the whole situation. To face diapers. Uh, I only had one person have the balls to say anything to me, and it was in a dollar store, and it was a fat, pink haired, woman. I think it was a woman. I mean, had things like a woman, but not not at all very feminine. But at least a dozen times, I'd go into my local Walmart and I'd see a guy, look a little bit like me, maybe not the hair, but um, dressed a certain way and had a certain look, and we'd give each other the nod. It's like, yep, fuck these guys, we ain't stupid. When the zombie apocalypse comes, which is right around the corner, just a different kind of zombie. Um, we'll be able to spot each other from a ways off. Just saying, just absolute insanity. Um, I grew up watching Sun Green and Silent Running. Uh, Cold Iron says, I wore a mask to cover up my autoimmune back then, but yeah, no jab. I could have had a reaction to it. My allergist straight up said, right. I was going to go with the religious exemption and told him to kick rocks, but the wife, she's got lupus, so like everything is terrifying and a potential death sentence to her. Uh, so she just did whatever she was told by whatever quack told her what to do, and she's still kind of doing that. But it's lupus. It could it could do what it's going to do at any minute at the drop of a hat. I'm sorry to hear about that, Cold Iron. But like I was saying, I grew up on Soylent Green, Silent Running, Rollerball, Logan's Run. Um, all those movies. Back in the day, warning us about the crazy shit. And the reality is crazier than any of that, right? Stupidity in numbers is dangerous. Well, yeah, but unfortunately, uh, the numbers are all in the right place for the worst possible results. It's like a grand planned strategy of placing the most retarded in the most crucial positions. There's an absolute genius behind it all. When you listen to Fools, the Mob Rules, great freaking great deal shit. Yeah, that's why I'm glad we don't live in a democracy, even though 90% of the people think we do. It's fucking, it's absolutely amazing how weak the entire race has become. Hands, I mean, everywhere. Um, the obvious solution to the obvious problems that ails us uh, are obvious, but here we are. Um, didn't mean to get all political, but uh, Games Workshop really just really just hammered home just a bunch of shitty things, um, and opened my eyes. For the longest time, yeah, I did Cold Iron. Uh, that the people that make our our games and our toys and stuff. Stupidity is a self cleaning oven. I haven't heard that one in a while. That's why I'm so glad to be partnered with Emperor's Choice and a few other people that see through the crap and don't fall for the bull crap, and you know have those rare morals, ethics, values and principles when it comes to everything they do, not just in the hobby but outside. George and Dave are two of the best guys I've ever had the pleasure of knowing and working with, and it's a really an honor to get to work on a lifelong dream of mine, that being Arduin. Uh, Technology is a blessing if used properly, but however, currently it's a curse and a weight on 99% of the world's higher powers, making everyone's mindless drones watching shorts. Even Asmongold is jumping on the 40K bandwagon. Well, of course he is, because he's got the money, he's got the free time, and the the luxury of being able to do whatever the hell he wants. And think about it though. That's a good thing. If someone like him can jump on the bandwagon, it's only a matter of time. I mean, only the cuckiest of cucks stick with it. Okay, even the guy I was talking about, um, who was running the shop, he runs his own shop now, his own business, and he sells a lot of different stuff, not just 40K, but a lot of different games, because he can only take so much. We are still, for the most part, men, most of us. Um, and if Asmongold gets into the hobby and then starts getting treated like shit inadvertently, because they don't know who he is. He's trying to buy something, and he sees the scalpers and the price gougers and things like that, and he realizes what's going on, and he sees how they treat people. He could be the biggest, you know, opponent they've ever had, with him going on regular rants to his massive audience. It would be like if Joe Rogan did it, back in the day when he was, more relevant. If he had gotten on and said, I tried this 40K thing, and then started freaking talking about it, their market craters, dive bomb, because they would get no new customers for years. Integrity is a very rare commodity. It truly is. Or he'll get so deep in it, he'll use his platform to exactly. Cold Iron. That's exactly what I was getting at. And you know, um, I look forward to it. I look forward to them eventually crashing and burning, and maybe somebody else picking them up, or it just fading and just no longer being a thing. And then people will like for example, like AD&D. I love AD&D. First edition. Um, the only thing more valuable in the D&D library, more valuable than the white box sets and those books, are the AD&D books. Some of those books can fetch up to 250, $285 for a really good condition. Not even first edition, but really good edition of some of the books. Okay, and that's usually, of course, during the holidays. But for the most part, like second ed books, the only second ed books that are actually worth a lot of money are the splat books for some reason. A lot of those, the green and the blue ones, are really spendy. But like I can go get a 2E player's handbook for like $25 any day of the week. That's almost less than what they cost when they first came out, right? 40K is going mainstream. Theolans are for it to replace Star Wars as the top sci-fi franchise. Disney has almost ruined it. Um, Star Wars is over. I love it, but when they made the last movie, Return of the Jedi, nothing that they talked about or came after it um, was really. I mean, some Knights of the Old Republic, obviously, the video games and a few comic books. For the most part, that was the end of the story, and I'm okay. Like for example, Soylent Green. There's the paperback book and there's the movie. I own both. I'll watch and read them, and if I need more, I'll reread it or rewatch it. But the story is, it's got a beginning, middle, and end, and everything does has a beginning, middle, and end. And I'm okay that Star Wars ended with Ewoks and Luke and Vader making peace and redeeming him and the end. I'm okay. I want more, but I want more of everything, and that's a problem. A lot of us, if we were okay to be like, oh, okay, the end. I'll put it on the shelf. It's over. Cool. I'm gonna go do something else now. But instead, we just want more, 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 more. Right? I noticed lost all but my one EPHB and have to eventually get them again. But finding cheaper beater copies was hard to find. Um, don't the best, honestly, the best thing you can do. I mean, if you've got the money, that's fine. But if you're trying to do it on a budget, go to drive through, get the reprint of the Player's Handbook, Monster Manual, DMG, and I think you can get the Unarched Arcana still in hardcover for like $28 a piece. Brand spanking new, little bit because of shipping, and you wait your time, you get them, and uh, they'll be around a long, long time. They're made, very well. Not the best in the business, but they're made well. They will survive. I use mine every Sunday, and hopefully more with my next campaign. But they're going to be around a good long time. Uh, the original printings and stuff, uh, those are pretty much for collectors. If you're going to literally use them, like actually play and read them in today's day and age, you're going to start doing damage to them just by opening them up and reading them. And you can even find reprints on eBay. Jackasses selling them for inflated prices because they've got the reprint cover, which is very similar to the other reprint cover that are actually limited edition from Wizards of the Coast or some shit. I don't know. That's the story I heard. I got my reprint copies from Drive Through. I'm probably going to order several more sets of those books just to have them. Even though I've got like a set of the core here, a set of the core here, and a set of the core in the garage plus extras. Um, if my family uh, if my family is going to continue playing role playing games, Jackie and his friends, and if he has children and raises them to play, like old school, they'll have them. And if for some reason the hobby, becomes passe, and my grandchildren and great grandchildren are completely uninterested, they can sell them, when the market's right, and make a crap ton of money, and that'll be the end of that legacy, or that tradition. But who knows? I could get lucky, and they could keep playing, a couple hundred years from now, and still be looking at great 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 granddad's player's handbook, the one you could roll into a tube, you know. My player's handbook is beat, man. It went through. It, so, I mean, I carried it everywhere for decades in my backpack. I would love to find the minis, though. I legit use them. What minis? Uh, Let me know because I could probably hook you up with someone who can get you, like recasts or originals or what have you. Um, like I was talking about with Heritage Miniatures. I know a guy who's got molds, and he can make me up, you know, tin instead of lead versions of all those same classic minis, and I don't have to worry about lead rot and all the other stuff. And that's something I'm going to do. Is I'm going to take all the Heritage box sets and the Grenadier box sets. Uh, oh, you mean the the little tiny players handbooks and stuff like that? Oh, dude, those are there's a couple out there right now on eBay. They're $200 each for the little tiny player's handbook, DMG, monster manual, etc. Um, I have a couple. I think I've got the Dark Sun books in that format and something else. I think it's one of the I think it's the Wilderness or Dungeoneers Survival Guide in the like 3 by 3 inch. Uh, uh, and I'd love to have those in the collection. Just as like the emergency desert island thing. He's like, well, I'm going to a desert island or I'm going on the lam, and my V&V book, it just might not be enough. Maybe I could squeeze in, because I mean, think about it. If you got the complete set of those little books, they would take up the like almost the exact same weight and space as a player's handbook, two books, two books, two books. If you had six, player's handbook, DMG, monster manual, unearthed, deities and demigods, if they made that, uh, a survival guide, Oriental Adventures, that would be pretty sweet. Of course, you would need a high-powered microscope to read them, but that's something else you're probably going to need anyways at our age. Yeah, drive-through print copies are pretty good and usable reference documents. I have several, and I've never uh, been too disappointed. And for the most part, uh, I can get that fixed. Always love the digest size stuff. Ice Train, be damned. Yeah, Arduin, White Box, Traveler, all those were really fun. And we quickly understood that it was because it was just a piece of paper folded in half and stapled in the middle. And I'm like, okay, cool. They're actually using their brain to get this product out at the bare minimum expenditure on their part. They make a profit. We get this cool thing that didn't exist. I mean, prior to 77, for most of us, the idea of playing a game like this was just like, yeah, we stopped playing make believe, in elementary school. Now we're talking about comic books or whatever, right? But then this came along and it's like, wait, you mean I can still do the thing, but now it's a grown up thing, a grown up version with like rules and stuff and dice and yeah, yeah, and we've been doing it ever since. What's up, Mike? I hope the missus is enjoying her glow in the dark stuff. Uh, yeah, I wish I could get more stuff that I have in reprint. That's why I love the omnibuses. The comic book omnibuses are like one of the greatest discoveries of my lifetime. If I would have known back then, I would have just saved my money and just waited until I was my age and then just bought every omnibus out there. Um, that whole presentation was painful to watch. I'm not sure what you were talking about. Cold Iron, what presentation? You mean like yesterday? Oh, 5.5E is reprinting Dark Sun next year. Uh, Watsy uh, and 5 point whatever and everything that came after 1E, except for a few 2E exceptions, can suck my balls. I don't care. I was talking to somebody the other day. I didn't even know third edition was a thing until I was at the shop and I was looking at fifth edition. I was like, fifth edition, what? What was wrong with? I mean, 2E would have could have lasted forever, but they made a third, a fourth, and a fifth. I didn't even hear about it. Oh yeah, because I was doing other stuff, playing other games because it wasn't the game. It was just the genre that I got a little burnt out on. I started playing other genres like you know a lot and just moved on and occasionally went back to hey, let's play some D&D. Okay, sure, sure. Not let's like let's go see what the new edition's like. Yeah, fuck that. There's nothing wrong with our books. I got burned with 2E when I got my 2E books, and I'm like, right off the bat in the player's handbook, I'm like, okay, the cleric, the magic user, the thief, there's some new improvements. Okay, I'm cool with that. The druid, the ranger, the monk, the bard, the assassin, just ruined or gone. It's the things I loved about D&D the most, they're just now gone. And my 25th level magic user can only do a 10D fireball now. You mean so I can't clear the rooms I used to? What is there, like a mana shortage worldwide? We can't drive past 55 Star Trek warp speed bullshit. Screw you guys. I'm gonna go back to my old books, play the way we played, gonzo as hell. None of this freaking watered down, twice the effort for half the return. Made you crave pain. Well, there's a word for that. It's called masochist, and I've been working on a video about sadistic DMs and masochistic players, and I'd love to use you as a case example if you wouldn't mind, because that's a mental illness, and you should get some help. Um, you should never crave pain beyond the knowledge of it. It's going to, the no pain no gain kind of physical thing when you're trying to make physical excellence a part of your existence. But outside of that, there's no reason you should actively seek out mental or emotional or financial pain. No, I mean, it's gonna come. It's like in D&D, right? I'm blown away by the GMs in all the role playing games that want to make things hard and harder. The game intrinsically is difficult. You're starting out in most games as someone inferior to yourself right now at this moment. Any character you make up at first level, you personally in the real life, if you could meet that physical, actual human version of that character you just rolled up, unless they're like 18s down the line, you could probably kick the crap out of them and outdo everything that they can do. So you're playing, you know, caricatures of weak people that have to fight to become like adequate in most games. Some games, like in AD&D, you're supposed to be the hero even at first level, but yet your chances to do anything are so minuscule that it's almost comical. Um, like like if I show someone how to pick a lock, right? They can pick that lock like 75 to 95% of the time in less than a minute. But in a D&D world, when a guy's been doing it his whole life, finally goes in and has to do it, he's got a 30% chance of doing it. Do not understand how any of the laws of physics work and how the human brain works and how locks work. Um, it's kind of dumb, and the idea that we're going to make it even harder than that, harder than the actual die rolls. Go look at your first level saving throw chances. They're in some cases they're like 17, 18, and 19. So I got a 15% chance of surviving anything. Why would you even, as a GM, have me encounter any of those things, knowing that? Oh, because it's a challenge. No, it's not a challenge. It's a guaranteed failure with a 15% chance of a miracle. No, I don't think so. I don't want that. Uh, Once the wall comes down and communism falls in Canada, it's PDFs for me. Until I watched it all, it was met with bad lighting. Right, Cal? Hey, Cal, I'm glad you're here. We were just talking about corn. I'm working on getting some miniature like corn stalks and plants to put behind miniatures and make some Halloween themed, cornfield themed terrain for my pumpkin king army. How tall does do you guys let corn grow before you start harvesting it? So do you change the thief abilities in your game? It depends on the game because some games they're fine. Um, in AD&D, I like to use the 2E rules, which are a little better because they allow you to customize your percentages, where you start with, certain abilities and you get X number of points to put into your percentages um, as you want. 6 feet, okay. Uh, So like that would be in 28 millimeter scale. That would be kind of like 1 inch, right? A little over 1 inch. If it was less, I can pad that by raising it up off the ground, kind of. Mine's 15, but that's unusual. Yeah, I'm not. I don't want them to look. I want the miniatures to look tall. I don't want them to be, hiding in the shade of the cornfields. We're not doing that movie, but I do kind of want some of those live. Average is more 8 feet, so I could just, if they're only an inch tall, I can make like hide them with little mounds of like milliput or something and raise them a little on the bases in the terrain and hide them behind some fencing because I'm going to have my scarecrow generals. Um, yeah, on some of the bases, I'm going to put like cornfields and fences. You taking off grid? Have a great evening. I'll be back tomorrow. I still need to go find my Mutant Crawl Classics to see if I have the book so I can start looking at it. Uh, what's up, George? Where you been, man? I thought you were going to join us last night for the book club. I was kind of bummed that I didn't get more people. I knew I could count on Omen. He's always got my back when it comes to talking about uh, stuff like that. And um, I was hoping to get a couple of other people's perspective on Gilgamesh. Um, to be honest, everybody should read it once, and then don't be surprised if you forget everything about it because it's just like it's really really kind of meh. It's um, I don't know. I just didn't you know it's just not my thing, man. I'm glad I have the information and I could say I read the oldest book, blah blah blah. But I'm like, yeah, they were kind of dumb back then, weren't they? Um, George, are you going to be joining us for the Mutant Crawl Classic funnel on Saturday, session 0 with Omen? Because I guess that's what we're doing. I'm fine with that. To be honest, I can paint and you know let Omen take the wheel for a change. But he's going to have like a bunch of characters for us to go through and grab some 0 level victims and see how quickly we can get them killed off. I highly recommend that whichever one you like, you don't play until the end. That's the only way they survive. I found is like you play the dumbest, stupidest characters first, and just run them into the freaking grinder. Just like dive head first into the wood chipper, as it were, and then go. Oh, I only got these 2, 3 characters left. Oh, I only got this one character left. Oh, game's over. I guess this one survived. Oh, God. Well, imagine that. It actually had a 14 stat, the highest stat of all the characters rolled up. Sorry, wife had Septoplasty Tuesday, been keeping up the house and helping. No worries, dude. No worries. I just, we miss you, and you're always a lot of fun to have on this show. I hope she's doing okay. I don't know what that is, but it sounds like uh, she saw a doctor, and for that alone, you have my sympathies. I, I, I've just come to uh, despise the medical profession. Growing up, I had a lot of reverence and respect for them. keeping my family alive, my mom and dad with all their issues, and doing the things that they did. But 2020 just ruined all of that, just destroyed it all for me. When I saw everywhere I went, um, those people doing what they were doing and what they did and what they would do, uh, just the mindless obedience to obvious, false information, just the vicious attitudes I saw. We went to we were going for some visit for somebody, um, and the hospital was this big place, right? But they had these taped off and weird things, um, you got to walk in these lines and put your footsteps here, and all this freaking stuff like we're retarded, and we were, most of us, not all of us, not you guys, but most of humanity, just cowered in fear and did whatever they were told. When that happened, and there was this instance where we went into the like the emergency room, the hospital, whatever. I had a kind of feeling that's what it was, George. I was just trying to be funny. Um, and we walked in, and we needed to go to the other side of the property, and we could have walked 40 feet from point A to point B from the reception desk and got to where we wanted to go. But they wouldn't let us because they wanted us to walk back outside, walk the long way around the building, which would have been 12, 16 times the distance, you know, longer than just walking straight through the building to the other side. And we tried to do that, and they damn near had us arrested for trying to do that. And it wasn't just following procedure, but the anger, the spit, the vile vitriol nature that they just like, it was like they were literally possessed by demons, yelling and screaming at us, you know along with some racial slurs. So I'm sure you can kind of do the math on that situation, uh, to force us to go walk around the building on the outside, to get to where we were going, which, a minor inconvenience, but it's like, um, whoa, relax, take a chill pill. Clearly the mask you're wearing is impeding your thought process, getting oxygen to your brain, or maybe you were just born that way. I really can't tell because the mask is covering up a lot of your facial features. That it would help me, deduce what kind of moron you are precisely. I got a pretty good clue, but we'll just walk around. You have a nice day. Good luck trying to lower your blood pressure after all this anger. But it was those kinds of attitudes, that just, it's like, why? I mean, yeah, right. My shopping aisles with direction arrows stops the spread. I did everything I could, every chance I could. Jackie hated going shopping with me, because I would just like, I would totally ignore them, and I'd be like 2 feet, a normal distance away from people, trying to hurry up and get through the checkout lines, and people just like, dude, none of this is doing anything except making you upset and me laugh. As doctors have become more performative, like a witch doctor in their feathers, society went full retard. It so absolutely did. Um, but Jackie and I were at a grocery store picking up something. I forget what, and this store was full freaking Nazi retard when it came to that. You know, and I was standing in line, and the guy kept looking back, making sure to give me you make sure you take your 6 feet away from me. And I'm like, fuck you. What are you going to do about it, bitch? Um, and I had, as I often do, my flashlight that goes crackle, crackle when you push a certain button. You know that sound, that you can hear, 50 feet away, and you know that if you get near that sound, you're going to get near to the ground, doing a little twitchy thing. And he kept looking back, and uh, I clicked and made that noise, and his eyes went like big and wide, and he stopped turning around, just minding his own fucking business. Because I would have lit him up right there in the store, and like would have looked forward to lighting up like a half a dozen other people that might have got involved. It's like, here, I'm here to get a half gallon of milk. Mind your own fucking business. Just move forward, do your thing, and we'll all go home safe. Um, but alas, wasn't really willing to step up to the plate and you know try to go for that home run. Instead he cowered with his tail between his legs, and I got my milk, and my boy died a little inside of embarrassment, and um, I chuckled all the way home. It's like, oh man, I wish I could have lit somebody up, uh, but no. And I've been lit up by those things. I know it's not a good tingle. Uh, yeah, it might have had some sort of short circuit. It was funny because I had this other device. It was like imagine like two rings, like around your fingers, but they were stuck together, and there was like a little plastic box on the inside, and on the outside was these little metal things that if they touched something when it was activated, it would also make a crackling noise. Well, I got one of those, and I thought, oh, this is going to be fun. I could just have it, in my hand as I walk into the car. Anything weird happens, I could just, anyways, I was charging it. I took it out of the charging port and put it on my hand and went to test the button. And I got to test it all right. It was not fun. It was not fun at all. And I proceeded to throw it in the trash because clearly it was broken, and I was bummed, and I haven't been able to find another one since then. But at least I do know um, what that would feel like, and it's not pleasant. It's not pleasant at all. But I'm glad I've got a flashlight that might be short circuiting for emergencies, and I highly recommend everybody look for a flashlight that might be short circuiting um, because you never know. As much as I like some of the blunt force trauma instruments I've got, and some of the other things. Something like that, if you know how to move and whatnot, and somebody comes into your place, without permission, you know, because like I've come to the conclusion in life that if something like that were to happen, the last thing I'm going to do is ever call the cops afterwards. I'm going to probably uh, go all reservoir dogs, you know, um, because nobody knows they're here, right? I think that's the biggest mistake we've made as a society. Um, I'm kidding, of course. Is like someone broke into my house. No, nobody broke into my house. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know whose car that is. Maybe they're visiting, one of the neighbors. You know, don't know. But you know, that just. I wonder how often that's actually give them some hot sauce. I say. um, I wonder how often that actually happens. Someone, some teens or youths, break into somebody's place, and then like a Roach Motel, they don't check out. Kind of like Pulp Fiction kind of thing. It's like, oh shit, we broke into the wrong house. Now we're wearing gimp suits. Right? On the advice of counsel, I choose my rights under my fifth bourbon. Yeah, that was something this week, wasn't it? man, just the I don't know about you, but I could smell the fear coming off that short little piece of shit. Could you guys? Could you feel? You know? Could you feel it? Could you sense it? Could you smell it? It was just like I am honestly surprised that he's still breathing and someone hasn't just like you know just I I just I mean we all knew, right? Yeah, yeah. But see, here's the thing. I kind of don't think so. I know the skeptic and the black pill in me thinks that we're going to still be seeing him on TV and in the news and shit 20 years from now, maybe 10. He's getting kind of old, but or he'll just you know leave this world in his sleep, kind of like cocaine Mitch, and shit like that, because we all know that fucker's gone. He's been gone for months, and they're just oh, they'll believe anything. They're stupid. I mean, seriously, we know he's gone, right? I mean, there's no way. I my mom and my dad both, when they finally passed, they'd been gone days before they were actually written as having passed. Um, with my mom, I wouldn't sign the papers. I refused. It's like, no, you keep trying. I've seen too many situations with my dad, coming back after, many minutes of, inactivity. You keep trying, you keep her breathing. Uh, Make tar and feathering great again. Yeah, the problem is getting the ingredients. There's so many other things. I don't know. I don't see the I don't see the courts or the system doing the right thing like ever anymore. I'm so used to watching people get off scot free or a slap on the wrist that I've completely lost faith in all of the systems that I used to hold dear and trust and try to uphold. It's um, I know it's akin to despair, but it's more of just being able to see the forest from the trees. Um, I know what's going to happen. I know what always happens. The likelihood that it's not going to happen. Uh, Vegas won't even take those odds. That's what I mean, Stephen. It's become so obvious that they say there's a two-tier system of justice, and it's not that. The only justice we're going to see is on the other side of the you know whatever. Just time after time after time, every day, millions of times a day, there are instances where the system doesn't work. It's been broken, maybe since its inception. I don't know, um, but I've lost count of the numbers and the ways that it doesn't work. Maybe since we stopped, you know, public executions, hangings and firing squads or whatever they used to do. Uh, I think when they stopped doing that, um, it stopped. And while I wish there was a better solution, I don't know what other options there are. I mean, we can't vote our way out of it. We can't, beg and plead and bargain and promise we'll be good boys and girls if we just get back our equal system of justice. You know, rioting in the streets. Well, that only works if you're from their group, and then they can get away with whatever they want. But normal, good, folks who just want to, go to work and mind their own business and pay their taxes and celebrate the holidays with family. Those are the bad guys, or anything going back even further than all of that, which I'm actually certain that the list goes back to the beginning of time. I have a theory that the reason behind the list is a group of people going back, almost maybe even before the Incas and the Mayans, when they would, sacrifice people and then bite, eat the hearts and things like that. I think uh, they 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 experienced something that they wanted to prolong throughout the millennia since then, and that it goes back to something akin to the end scene of From Dusk Till Dawn. Not quite, the melodramatic way it might come across, but there's something evil, walking the earth that um, wants those things to happen and to make sure those things still happen. Um, that, or there's a significant portion of humanity, the soup box, the ballot box. Yeah, I think you meant soapbox, but I'm well familiar with the thing. But the problem is that last box. Um, it's just never going to happen, man. There are no people. There's no one brave enough to do that. They're literally, that's been beaten out of everybody. Um, no one wants to be the one guy, knowing that if they stand up, they're going to stand up alone. It's really the reality of the situation. We, just as we have taken the wolf out of the dog, uh, they've taken the man out of mankind. Um, no one's going to do it. No one's going to stand up. Uh, they're just going to pray it's not their turn to get rounded up and keep their head down. You would think that in any place that's got the things happening, uh, I meant the very very end, with the backside of the establishment. If you see what's under it, the sort of painting. I don't think so. I think, like Hillary said, if she hangs, so will everybody else. He's got enough dirt on enough people that if he starts spilling the beans, entire institutions will collapse, or at least that's what they fear. That like if any one big person, see, that's the thing. That's the ugly truth about the system, is everybody's got dirt on everybody else, and all any one person has to do is get arrested and start spilling the beans, and then that chain reaction could happen, but nobody's going to do it because nobody's going to arrest the guy that they know has got dirt on them. Yes, the multi-step pyramid scheme. Yes, yes, you guys are picking up what I'm laying down. Back even before that, I think, as far back as you can go, there were uh, vampires. Not the kind that Hollywood shows us, but really close to the same damn thing. Um, because if any of those stories are true, just the ones that we kind of take as fact, as historical, not anecdotal or whatever. That there have been people who did these things, and they maintained their health and their beauty and their power uh, beyond what was good, right, just, or fair. Um, I hope that's what happens, but I don't. It's never happened before. Why would they change anything? Why would any of them, you know, ever see a second, of consequence for what's going on? I truly believe they literally. I think I got a splinter in my thumb, man. I hate splinters with a freaking passion. I think they all have, enough dirt on each other to. Yes, you are absolutely reading my mind, Chris. Um, Going out back even further than that, but yes, exactly that. People that, at the very least, they believed the theory, whether or not it was true, just the fact that they believed it and participated and enacted it and tried to make it work. Um, that sometimes is enough to make it work. I mean, think about the word placebo. Um, you know, if somebody gives you something and says it's going to work, and you believe it works and it works, but it was still a sugar pill, you still made it work through some sort of, you know, incomprehensible force of will, or something. There's something intangible going on that makes those things work. Like that great episode of Mash, where they were running out of morphine, and they just started telling people they were giving them something even stronger, and it worked like a charm because they believed it would work, and it did. Psychologically, they all went to sleep. They all felt better, and the pain, kind of went away until they got the morphine back, the supply back, you know. And I've seen that work in real life. The power of suggestion uh, can do some crazy shit. I know, but we didn't get, that wasn't what I voted for. I voted for two things. I wanted everybody to go back where the fuck they came from and never come back. And I wanted the people who were hurting kids to finally face some justice. Those two things. That's all I cared about. That's all I wanted. And we got very little of that. And in some cases, the exact opposite of what we asked for. Now, I understand that making those kind of promises are difficult to keep when you've got both sides working against you. Um, but to this day, most people still think there's two sides. And there's never been two sides. Never. It's always been, you know, their side. We don't even matter in the greater scheme of things. Any one of us can be disappeared, and no one will ever bat an eye. They can disappear every single last person in your family, and people will just think you moved, and freaking they won't give a shit. Your neighbors don't care. Uh, Cal, I hope you're right, but I don't think 2 years from now. Uh, I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong, but I don't think we're gonna get those two things. We're never going to get one of them, and the other one, uh, even if we do, they all have to go home, right? Yes, they are, George. They are. Uh, it's a big club. We ain't in it. Even if all those people had to leave, you know what would happen? They'd go somewhere else, and not where they came from. If you've been watching the news, uh, it's like there's an endless supply. It's like they literally opened up the gates of fucking hell and said, "Come on out and go to Spain." It's just like, where are these demons coming from? How are there so many of them? Just it's like they're making them in a factory, um, and people are willing to just come on in, you know, take my wife, please. What the fuck? I mean, uh, I just I don't know, man. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. I'm probably wrong more often than not when it comes to stuff like this. But I'm just getting kind of tired. I most days I don't even turn the news on anymore, and try and just not do any doom scrolling. But every morning I gotta check you know the news today and see if anything really big is happening, because I usually like 7 o'clock when I wake up, I can look and go, okay. And it's Friday, so like Friday is like one of those days where they're going to try and hide something big. They'll let it out today, and then everybody will forget about it by Monday. you know and if it's really important, it'll come out on Monday, so we've got the whole news cycle all week long to get hit over the head with this thing that probably isn't really actually important, or just a distraction. George, the only vampire game I want to run is my Venture Brothers slash Supernatural melding game, and it would be so tongue in cheek and ridiculous that I don't know that I can get that many players to be in it, just because you have to be so willing to lean into the absurdity of most of the woo woo shit out there. But it's still on my list. I was looking at. I've got this notebook with like there's like 6 games, 6 or 7 RPGs that I'm like I really really want to run. It's a bit like Cyberpunk. The corporations own the governments, and we are at the bottom of it all. Yeah, or Mutant Chronicles, Warzone, that IP as well. Um, we're not there, but we're really we're getting kind of close to where those big 4, 5, 6 whatever corporations will kind of own everything, and governments will be board meetings, not we the people. Because once again, nobody out there is willing to take one for the team, and I'm not jumping up first in line either. Um, New cursed D&D item, Doom Scroll. Save or start reading an endless scroll that goes on forever. The hours pass by and you ignore any threats or attacks. Chris, I actually gave an item like that away to Mac Thompson. It was like I think it was an emerald of scrying, the future. But the more you look, the more you wanted to look, and the harder it got to look away, so that you would just spend the rest of your days with a crystal gemstone freaking disc, if you will, and you would just stare. But unfortunately, that guy, he kind of left our game because of a certain national socialist who we let into our inner circle, and just a big mistake. But yeah, I do like the Doom Scroll. That is a clever play on words, and I'm certain someone's going to use that if they haven't already, and just run with that, and just milk it for all it's worth. I have a hag that will talk to you to death. It will talk you to death, in your neighborhood or in your game, because neither would surprise me. Yeah, but yeah, I am looking forward to Sunday's game with Cal and Omen and Off Grid and Armstrong. I've been doing some reading and coming up with some new stuff. And yeah, I would know about that, but I'm sure that's probably a thing too. I mean, I do take my tablet into the restroom, and I do um, check my email and things like that. But the other thing, yeah, no, I'm freaking 60 years old. What do I care about that shit anymore? Um, I've done all of that plenty. I'm good. I'm stealing that for when my players can't make a session. Which one? Oh, well, it's got to be the previous one because you didn't look into the future and see that. I hope you don't. I mean, if you do, welcome to the team. And can you tell me what the lotto numbers are? No. It's a crazy world we live in. I'm glad we've got these games to get us through the stupidity and the idiocracy that's become our daily lives. I'm trying to get Jackie to watch some movies, and that one's on the list because I know he's heard the references growing up all his life, but it's far different to see it, like that, you know, like see this is what because that's got to be another one of those movies that has to go on the list of silent running, Silent Green, Rollerball, Logan's Run, THX 1138. Colossus, the Forbin Project, uh, a huge list of those great classic, you know, the future's fucked movies, right? Uh, Andromeda Strain, I think, is one that might need to make the list, as well as the China Syndrome. Uh, and thank God those two. Well, we kind of got the Andromeda Strain, didn't we? The Doom Scroll. Okay, I figured, Joshua. I hope you're enjoying the show, being new here, and you're not getting scared off. I sometimes worry that some people they'll like the game stuff, but then when it gets to other real stuff, they're like, oh, it's like, hey, you know, we're all friends here, and we're gonna talk about that crap, and we're gonna, sometimes like me, or other folks, they need to vent, and you're trying to do that by yourself, screaming at the clouds and shit like that. Really isn't as cathartic and helpful as it is when you can do it, with your friends at the bar or, you know, uh, your game room or your den or whatever you've got, where you and the men, gather and hang out and stuff like that. Um, and sometimes I know that there's folks who come in and they're like, yeah, the game stuff was cool, but I disagree with everything you just said, and you're wrong. We've had a few of those people, but not many. Um, I'm kind of curious if like for the most part, I think we're mostly like Gen X guys, and uh, if it is in fact kind of true that most Gen Xers feel kind of this way about most things, out there. I know there's some that are a little more middle of the road or the other way, but for the most part, um, I wonder if that's what um, the 3 and the 5E people really hate the most is that fact about the old schoolers, because it kind of goes hand in hand with hardcore old school gaming rules and things, as well as you know the lifestyle we lived through and the things we lived through, latchkey kid syndrome, and drinking out of the hose and scraping our knees and staying out till the streetlights came on. All those a little bit rougher around the edges ways of life that have been sanded down and covered in bubble wrap for the previous generations that came after us. If they kind of resent uh, all of those things more than the actual edition that we play. Oh, well, I'm not trying to do those things. And I don't believe I'm saying anything. I appreciate that, Joshua. That I'm saying anything that's, uh, obviously you can say it's my opinion, but my opinion is backed up by a lot of world experience. I see the things happening, and I'm going to comment on it. And um, you know, I wish it was the other way around. I wish we were all just old men, yelling at the clouds and wrong, completely wrong, and that our kids and our grandchildren children had nothing to worry about going into the future. And we made the world a better place with its safe spaces and cry closets, and everybody's right and everybody, blah blah blah. But that's just not the way it is. Why would it just flip the script in one generation? Suddenly, the world is a beautiful place. I mean, it is, but everybody's good to each other. Everybody's nice to each other. Everybody's right, and you can't be wrong, and all that just copium. It's not helpful. Andromeda Strain, there was a lab that was 8 levels of security a mile deep in the earth. In reality, it was a Chinese lab with zero security next to a wet food market. Yeah. Um, and I mean, just the way he said so matter of factly that the next administration was going to have a surprise. And well, guess the surprise is out of the fucking hat. Wish people would have paid attention to your freaking evil garden gnome ass. Uh, he should literally not even be in prison. He should be in a pillory or the stocks or whatever, where people can freaking throw eggs at him, and God forbid the guards don't go for a smoke break at night. You know what I'm saying? Where people can take little pieces of him. Because prison is literally too good for him, you know. But so is the other thing. Um, I'm reminded of that gadget from Star Trek, Mirror Mirror, the little gadget that everybody wore, and when you were a bad boy, they activated it, Um, you guys remember that? I hope they never make those for real and we don't have to wear them around. But something like that, if it was just left on for, you know, the next decade, would still be too good. I'm glad to hear it, Joshua. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the club. Welcome to, this little group of folks that hangs out Monday through Friday, sometimes Saturday, sometimes Sunday. Normally talking about games. I got a bunch of stuff on my table that I'm going to be reading. I got a superhero miniature war game, skirmish game that I picked up. I've got Vengeance Satanis's new book, Pulp Drenched Cities of Ch'alt. I've got a couple more books from Dungeon Dwellers to read. I've got the Solomon Kane RPG. All of these I'm going to review in the next couple of weeks if I can get through them. But what I'm looking forward to the most, honestly, is just kicking back, reading Magician Apprentice, Magician Master, uh, Silverthorn, and a Darkness and Sethanon, and the next new books that I didn't even know existed by Raymond E. Feist. I love those books growing up. My friends and I, we read them and handed them off to our friends for a good couple of years. When we had finished, of course, reading all the Amber books and we needed something new, a friend of mine picked up one of them, read it, and was like, "Hey, there's several in this. There's like 3 or 4 in the series. Here, you want to read it?" Like, sure. And they were good. They were a lot of fun. And what I remember, and so I'm going to try and they're pretty thick. They're like 500 pages, but it's been so long, and I only read them one time, once through. Whereas other books I've read multiple times. The Amber books, I've lost count how many times I've read the Amber series. Last count, I think, was like a dozen or 20. I don't know. It was crazy. I've read those books so many times. No, aren't those? Isn't Midkemia the world of that series? Because I was looking at a book on the list, and it said something like that. Is that correct, Chris? Because it sounds very similar to something from that series. And if so, I will go look at it as soon as I shut the show down, which will be in about 4 minutes. Sweet, that is awesome news. Uh, not saying that I really want to play in that world, but I definitely want to steal from that world. The D&D espionage game that I'm working on, the campaign using AD&D rules and a bunch of characters that are commissioned by the king to root out a death cult in the lands that's starting to cause mischief. Um, I'm going to use some inspiration from sources such as that, and some stuff I picked up from Dungeon Dwellers and some other sources, because I really do think that uh, the novels were written to support the game line, and the books were more popular. Um, so there was a game, a Midkemia world books for D&D or some such, and then Feist wrote the Magician and Magician Master. Is that what I'm picking up? Because if so, I totally missed the boat on that one, and I can imagine just how freaking rare and hard to find those are gonna be. But I am up to the challenge because I don't remember any of that. In the TSR era, and we were playing. I want to say first edition still when in the '80s when those Magician Master, etc., Magician Apprentice, etc., were a thing. Because it was funny too. Because when I looked up Midkemia last night, I got no hits whatsoever on eBay. But who knows? I'll keep my eyes open. Can you tell me more about the game line? Was it a TSR thing? Was it a third party? Was it a different game even? Because any of those things could strike me as easily having been the route, but that's kind of awesome if you think about it. But it not really surprising, if the game was meh. uh, okay, I'm gonna have to write that down. I'm gonna have to go search it out high and low. And next he's gonna hit me with, oh yeah, I've got him. Right, you're gonna hit me with that, you freaking. Every once in a while, I meet someone who's got a comparable and equally weird collection of books. I salute you, Chris, and anybody else out there who keeps picking up and keep hunting down those rare books. Sometimes I do feel like Johnny Depp in the Ninth Gate. None of those are prohibitive for me. It's except the first one. I've one of them. Well, the game is on. The game is afoot. Uh, I accept the challenge. But I'm guessing that, well, that's weird too because like the whole Rift War thing. I would, I did something like that in one of my games prior to it. Um, that sounds like awesome though, right? Like a D&D world that's actually being invaded by another D&D world, through rifts and shit. I mean, how is that not like done like every other day? Like every campaign culminates in that. If you play it long enough, you get that. Or maybe you're the invaders. That would be cool too, right? Because I know there's the other side of the Rift War saga that is stories from the other side of the Rift, and I'm like, oh, I have got a whole new thing to start reading. Because like I was saying earlier, he's written. When I picked up those books, there were like four, and we didn't have the internet. And as far as we knew, he wrote four books, and that was it. And I think A Darkness at Stephanon came out. We were waiting for it to come out on the bookshelves, and we just had to hurry up and wait. And since then, I looked at it like his bibliography, and it's just freaking just like 30 or 40 different books he's written now, and I'm like, oof, got some catching up to do. I hope he didn't start to suck as a writer, as he got older. But we'll see. But thanks for the info. I'm gonna go do some people stuff. It's Friday. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Everybody out there in chat and in TV land who watches this later, thanks for hanging out, sticking around all these years. We're about to hit our 6th-year anniversary and start rolling into our 7th year. And we couldn't have done any of this without you. I mean, we probably could, but nobody would know. So thanks, guys. I love you guys. See you tomorrow night, 6 p.m., 5 p.m. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But go have some fun. Go have lunch. Go have a great day. And as Steven said, happy trails.